Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the top 10 most important factors about aviation weather. Whether you're a pilot, an aviation enthusiast, or just curious about what happens up there in the big blue, this video is for you. Understanding weather is super important for pilots, but it's also fascinating for anyone who's ever looked up at a plane and wondered what it's like to fly through a storm. So buckle up, get ready for takeoff, and let's get started. First up, we've got wind, which might seem pretty basic, but trust me, it's a big deal in aviation. A strong headwind during takeoff can actually help a plane get off the ground faster, kinda like a running start. On the other hand, a tailwind during landing is like trying to park your car on an icy driveway. Makes things a lot trickier. Pilots have to make precise calculations to adjust for wind speed and direction, ensuring a smooth takeoff and a safe landing. Up in the air, crosswinds can push a plane off course, making it feel like you're driving a shopping cart with a wobbly wheel. Pilots use a bunch of fancy instruments and techniques to compensate for this, keeping the plane flying straight and true. Wind shear is a sudden change in wind speed or direction over a short distance, which can be super dangerous for planes. Pilots use weather radar and reports from air traffic control to avoid areas of wind shear. They're trained to react quickly if they encounter it, making sure your flight stays as smooth and safe as possible. Next up, we've got visibility. Pilots need to see other aircraft, the ground, and especially the runway during landing. Things like fog, mist, snow, rain, and even smog can reduce visibility, making it tough for pilots to see clearly. In aviation, we measure visibility in statute miles or meters. When visibility gets really low, pilots rely on their instruments way more. They use a system called Instrument Flight Rules, IFR, which allows them to navigate and land safely, even when they can't see much outside. Airports also have fancy equipment like Instrument Landing Systems, ILS, that help guide pilots down to the runway in low visibility conditions. It's pretty amazing technology, but pilots are extensively trained to handle these situations. Remember, visibility is crucial for safe flying. Let's talk about turbulence, that thing that makes your stomach do flips when you're flying. In simple terms, turbulence is just unstable air, like those annoying ripples in a swimming pool. There are a few things that cause turbulence. Thunderstorms can create some seriously powerful updrafts and downdrafts. Jet streams, those fast-flowing rivers of air high up in the atmosphere, can also cause turbulence. Clear air turbulence is like invisible speed bumps in the sky caused by different layers of air moving at different speeds. Most turbulence is relatively mild, just a little shaking and bouncing. Pilots do their best to avoid turbulence using weather radar and reports from other aircraft. If you do hit a bump, don't worry, the plane is designed to handle it. Just remember to keep calm, follow the flight attendant's instructions, and maybe hold off on that coffee until things smooth out. Let's talk about icing. And no, I'm not talking about the delicious kind you put on a cake. Icing on an airplane is a serious matter. Kind of like getting gum stuck on your shoe, but a million times worse. It occurs when supercooled water droplets in the clouds freeze onto the cold surfaces of the aircraft. Ice disrupts the smooth flow of air over the wings, which is what gives the plane lift. Icing can also mess with the plane's weight and balance, making it harder to control. Pilots are trained to spot the signs of icing and know how to deal with it. They use de-icing equipment, kind of like heated windshield wipers for the wings and tail, to get rid of that pesky ice buildup. They can also adjust the flight path to get out of icing conditions. Airports also have de-icing procedures on the ground, spraying planes with a special fluid to prevent ice from forming before takeoff. So next time you're on a flight and you hear the pilot mention icing, just know that they're on top of it. Alright, let's talk about the big kahuna of aviation weather, thunderstorms. These bad boys are like the ultimate force of nature, packing a powerful punch of wind, rain, hail, lightning, and even tornadoes. Thunderstorms are formed by unstable air masses colliding, kind of like a mosh pit in the sky. They create massive updrafts and downdrafts that can toss a plane around like a toy boat in a bathtub. Pilots know better than anyone that avoiding thunderstorms is crucial. They use weather radar to see these storms from miles away. They'll also get updates from air traffic control, who are constantly monitoring the weather and directing planes around these stormy areas. Sometimes pilots have to delay or even cancel flights if there's a thunderstorm in the area. You might think temperature is just about whether you need a jacket or not, but in the world of aviation, it's a whole different ballgame. Temperature affects air density, which in turn affects how a plane performs during takeoff, flight, and landing. Hot air is less dense than cold air. When it's hot outside, the air is thinner, which means the plane needs a longer runway for takeoff. On the other hand, cold air is denser, which provides more lift, making takeoff a bit easier. Pilots are masters of math and physics and use their calculations to adjust for temperature variations. They factor in things like air density, wind speed and direction, and runway length to ensure a safe takeoff and landing. So next time you're on a flight and you hear the pilot mention temperature, know that they're not just making small talk. They're taking into account how it affects the plane's performance to guarantee a smooth and safe journey for everyone on board. Okay, let's talk about air pressure. It might seem like one of those invisible forces we never really think about. But in the world of aviation, it's a big deal. It's what makes planes fly, helps them navigate, and ensures they stay at a safe altitude. Remember those altimeters pilots are always looking at? Well, they work based on air pressure. As a plane climbs higher, the air pressure outside decreases, and the altimeter shows a higher altitude. Air pressure isn't always consistent. It changes with altitude, temperature, and even the weather. Pilots need to constantly adjust their altimeters to ensure accurate readings. They get information from air traffic control about the local barometric pressure and then calibrate their instruments accordingly. So, next time you're on a flight and you see the pilot adjusting those knobs and dials, know that they're fine-tuning their instruments based on air pressure changes. We've all looked up at the sky and admired those fluffy white clouds, right? But for pilots, clouds are more than just a pretty sight. They can affect visibility, create turbulence, and even pose icing hazards. There are different types of clouds, each with its own personality. You've got your low-level clouds like stratus clouds, which are those flat, gray ones that can hang low to the ground, reducing visibility and sometimes bringing drizzle. Then there are cumulus clouds, those puffy, cotton ball-like clouds that usually mean fair weather. But they can grow into towering cumulonimbus clouds, also known as thunderclouds. Pilots use a combination of visual cues, weather radar, and reports from air traffic control to navigate through and around cloud cover. They might adjust altitude to get above or below a layer of clouds, or even take a detour to avoid a particularly nasty patch. Let's talk about precipitation, which is a fancy way of saying rain, snow, sleet, or anything else falling from the sky. Heavy rain can reduce visibility, making it harder for pilots to see the runway during landing. Snow and sleet can create similar visibility issues, and they can also accumulate on the plane's surfaces, adding weight and potentially leading to icing. Pilots use weather radar to track precipitation patterns and adjust their flight paths accordingly. They might delay takeoff if there's a heavy downpour or choose a different route to avoid areas of freezing rain. Airports also have their own ways of dealing with precipitation. They use snowplows and de-icing fluids to keep runways clear and operational, ensuring a safe landing for incoming flights. So, next time you're on a flight and you encounter a bit of rain or snow, don't worry, the pilots and ground crews have it covered. Finally, let's talk about jet streams, those high-altitude rivers of air that circle the globe. You can't see them, but they have a huge impact on flight times and fuel efficiency. Pilots can actually use these jet streams to their advantage, catching a tailwind to speed up their journey and save fuel. Of course, flying against the jet stream is a different story. Pilots use sophisticated weather forecasting tools to predict the path and strength of jet streams. They factor this information into their flight planning, choosing routes that take advantage of tailwinds and minimize the impact of headwinds. This careful planning helps airlines save money on fuel and reduce flight times. So next time you're on a flight and you hear the pilot mention jet streams, know that they're using their understanding of these powerful winds to optimize the flight. Thanks for watching. We've covered a lot of ground today, from wind and visibility to thunderstorms and jet streams. Hopefully you've gained a newfound appreciation for the complexities of aviation weather and the crucial role it plays in keeping our skies safe. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more aviation insights. Fly safe. Click the link in the description to get 50% off our online aviation course.